Alright, so today I am here with Essex Friends of Israel. And could you give me both your names?
I'm Zach.
I'm Harry Markham.
And what are you doing here today?
Ladies first.
We're here just handing out leaflets and speaking to people about the situation in the Middle East. We're here campaigning for peace. We're showing people the true side of how diverse Israel is and showing people that the international community needs to do its bit to recognise Hamas as a terrorist organisation and recognise the diversity in Israel.
Well, my words now are superfluous, Zach. And I think that's also reflected in the people that have attended our street stall today. We have Muslims and we have Jews, and it's fantastic to see that we are really representing a pluralist, diverse society, which Israel is.
I'm Israel Kai.
Okay, so I'm here today with
Shadman Zaman, the first ever and only ever Bangladeshi to ever go to Israel.
High five that.
High five.
Okay, that's really, really cool. So what on earth possessed you to go to Israel?
As you know, Bangladesh is a Muslim majority country, and like all Muslim majority countries, the system there teaches you to hate Israel, and they only say bad things about Israel, not the truth. So what happens is, my maternal grandfather, he studied in Sweden and Finland, and in the course of his studies he interacted with a lot of Jews and a lot of Israelis, and he literally fell in love with that. Like he wasn't a religious guy, he was a communist and an atheist, as you can understand. So ever since I was young, as you can understand, the mullahs, the ayatollahs of my country, they used to tell me to hate Israel. Even the teachers used to tell me to hate Israel. But the thing is, my maternal grandfather and also my father, who is an atheist, but he was also pro-Israel. So he used to tell me that do not hate a religion or a group of people without knowing about them, read about them, and etc. So my maternal grandfather was, you can say, this beginning. So he used to give me books about Israel from a very early age. Books, magazines, wherever there was Israel, he used to like, hey, like my nickname is Shuddho. So hey Shuddho, come here. Like he died last year, unfortunately.
I'm really sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I'm sorry for that too. But he's like, just come here, see this, read this. So like I read the book A Case for Israel by Alan Dershowitz at the age of 12.
In Bangladesh?
In Bangladesh. We got the book from Singapore. So we got the book from Singapore. So yeah, I did read that. So yeah, so that's how my introduction to Israel happened. And as I read more and more, I started loving it, and then I fell in love with Israel. And so when I was coming here last year in August, my grandfather actually died on July 9th. I came here on August 20th. So my grandfather told me the first country that, actually he was like, if you go to Israel with a Bangladeshi passport, you will be banned. So the first country after you get your British permanent residency, I want you to visit is Israel. So I was like, hey, no one has ever gone to Israel, no Bangladeshi. The first Bangladeshi who wanted to go to Israel was in 2003, and somehow his travel information got leaked, and he has been in jail for the last 14 years. So I was like, let me be the first guy, at least try. So then one thing happened after another, and it happened. I went to Israel, and yeah. So when I went to Israel, so I had read so much about Israel. So when I went to Israel, I actually wore my grandfather's shoes, which when he died, before he died, he said, you take this. So I wore those so that he walks, like he always wanted to visit Israel. He never got to, but so that he could feel, like I could feel that he's walking with me.
Yeah.
So when I went to Ben Gurion Airport, I was like, it was so beautiful. Then I took the train I went to Tel Aviv. From there we walked around, and we went by her car first, and then went to Tel Aviv Uni, and it was so beautiful. And it was everything that I had read about a European society, a Western society, advanced society, educated society. But it was everything I read about and I had studied about, but not what I heard in the biased media, which only shows conflict. So the feeling was, it was a dream come true, or it was the stuff of dreams. Like I actually told my friend Talia that, hey, I'm living the stuff of dreams.
That's absolutely incredible. So I want to touch on two things that you said
sure.
there. The first one was to do with the ignorance that surrounds the hatred. Do you think education is the key to solving the conflict?
Proper education is the key, because in Bangladesh there are educated people you will see who don't even read about the Israel-Palestine topic, who only see it from. It's easy to see things from a victim's point of view, but who is the victim here?
Yeah.
Who is the victim? I would say both sides are the victim of decisions by politicians. Palestinians don't have a representative. Israel has its own problems, societal problems. No country is perfect, but I would say if Palestinians accept the right of a Jewish state to exist, their problems would be solved like very quickly. The problem is there are so many Islamic countries, but people need to accept the idea of a Jewish state, and people don't. And that is where I find anti-Semitism. For me, the definition of anti-Semitism is not only against Jews, but also questioning the legitimacy of Israel.
Okay, no, that's fascinating. It's still, to be honest, still in my head. I've got your shoe story, walking on your grandfather's
I have the
shoes.
picture. I have the
absolutely
picture.
incredible.
I have the pictures actually.
Could you send that to me afterwards, and I'll put that into the video. We're going to see the shoes. Now we're getting to the shoes. Okay. My other question I wanted to ask is, it was to do with the perception. One of the words we hear again and again and again from Israel's detractors is that it's an apartheid state. And so the thing I wanted to ask you was, did you see any signs of apartheid while you were there?
I said that in a pro-Israel event in my university. By the way, I'm the secretary of Queen Mary Jewish Society.
Oh, sorry, another high five. sorry, the secretary of the Queen Mary Jewish Society as an atheist from a Muslim background.
My mom is a Muslim.
That's what I said, background.
Yeah, the thing is, the word apartheid, the word discrimination, all these words have become so easy nowadays to use. Some people actually compare Israel to a Nazi ghetto or something, Gaza to a ghetto. People don't realize what they're talking about. Gaza gets all the supplies from Israel. As I said, it's easy to say, see them as the victim and not Israelis who are receiving rockets after rockets. They're not. It's not easy to see them as the victims because most of them are not dying, and people are waiting for them to die to become victims. When I was in Israel, there was an attack in Petah Tikva. A stabbing attack. So the thing is, forget about apartheid. What I think is, if you look at the Middle East or the whole Muslim world, Israel is the safest country for Muslims in the Middle East.
It's just so most people don't realize
because I went to Tel Aviv Uni, I went to Technion, I went to other places. I saw Muslim students, Muslims at the Israeli Center, the biggest shopping mall. I saw Muslims at the Sarona. I saw Muslims everywhere. What I told them, I actually asked a few Muslims who were actually wearing hijab, do you feel the discrimination by law? Because there will be discrimination. Even in UK, I see white people calling African bus drivers, you black monkey, whenever they get into a confrontation. So you cannot take off that personal discrimination or personal racism. But I asked them, do you feel any racism because of being Muslims by the law, by state? They're like, no, we get the same thing. Yeah, you will see some Arab getting scolded, but you'll see by a random Israeli woman, but not by law.
Yeah.
So that is the truth. You have to know that there are 1,700 Muslim soldiers in the IDF, and there are Muslim police officers posted in Muslim areas. What I would say is, if you hate Israel, just go to Israel. Your idea about Israel will change. That's the truth.
And that was based not just from what he read, but from going there, speaking to Muslims, speaking to Arabs, speaking to Jews, and actually.
As you heard, I went to Abu Ghosh. Then we went to a kibbutz, which is beautiful. Ma'ale Hahamisha at the hilltop. Then we went to Jerusalem at the Kotel. Even I went to the Al-Aqsa, and even after that we went to the Church of the Holy Sculpture. Yeah, at the Al-Aqsa, the funny thing happened. I was actually going with my friend Talia, who actually is my best friend. So, and she's Israeli and a Jew. She is Jewish by birth. And actually, the Israeli security forces stopped her from going. My passport says I'm Muslim, though I don't practice. But we don't have the option of choosing atheism in Bangladesh when you register for a passport. But she was like, the Israeli security forces were, don't go in there. This is not the time for non-Muslims to go. If you go in there, there will be riots and everything. And I actually wanted to go with the Bangladeshi flag and the Israeli flag, and they stopped me. They took my Israeli flag. But don't go. We'll give it back to you. If you go in there with the Israeli flag, you will not come back.
That is...
So you have to look at both sides. Yeah, but you can say you love a Palestinian state, everyone loves that. But also you need to look at the Israeli argument, which is valid and logical. And in the 21st century, if you say Israel doesn't have a right to exist, which in UK even, forget about Bangladesh, in UK even there is a very strong BDS in my university.
Yeah.
So if you look at if you say that in the 21st century, that means you are ignorant and you are being anti-Semitic.
100%. Okay, so I'm here with
Mustafa Said,
who's representing with Essex Friends of Israel. Could you tell me what's going on here today?
Well, today we're handing out leaflets and talking more about Israel in a very positive way, because I think Israelis and Jewish people in England are discriminated in a very negative way. So we just want to sort of take away the hate and spread positive vibes.
Yeah.
All peace and love. Because at the end of the day, we're all humans, we all deserve human rights.
Alright, cool. So Mustafa, you're here, and as you're saying, you think both people are entitled to human rights, both Israelis, Palestinians, Jews, Arabs,
Christians, everyone, to be honest. I mean, sure we have different religious views, but I could say that in most religions, it always tells you to not talk negative about other people's religious views. Especially Islam, I could say, we are actually forbidden to talk rubbish about other people's religions and whatnot.
What I think is really powerful is that you're here today handing out flyers promoting Israel, which is a very unusual thing for a British Muslim to do, because there's so much misinformation about Israel. How did you come to realise that maybe there's more than one side to the story, and maybe there are very good Israelis, and what what many Muslims are taught from a young age in the UK is actually not the full picture?
Yeah, no, growing up, I mean, I used to take religious studies, Islamic studies, and we would always read stories, a war between Muslims and Jewish people, but the minute I came to this country, the minute I joined King Solomon, which is a Jewish school, my views completely changed.
Sorry, rewind. You're a Muslim at a Jewish school in the UK?
I'm a Muslim at a Jewish school.
How does that work?
Well, first I thought, wow, Jewish school must be strict, maybe I might get a lot of hate, but once I joined King Solomon, my views just changed. It's all, positivity flowing, positive vibes. I mean, I go along with a lot of Israelis, and I've been taking Jewish studies, and I would say this: everything, laws, religious views, our prophets, our beliefs, I would say they're about 80% all the same.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't get why Muslims and Jews don't get along well. Everything's the same, word to word. We even believe in the Torah. We even say Jews were the most loved tribe by our God.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't say our God. I mean,
the world's God.
Yeah, the world's God.
So, what possessed your parents to send you to a Jewish school?
No, my parents actually. The thing about my parents is we don't hate. We respect other religions. We were taught to respect other religions, and my parents were like, it'll be really good. And I think my first week I was very comfortable actually.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting, especially Jewish studies, which I've studied for about 2 years. I found it very interesting. I enjoyed every moment of it.
That's fascinating. The reason I asked about your parents, because I'm guessing any parent from a religion that puts their child into the school of another religion has to be quite open-minded.
Exactly.
And speaking to you, it's quite clear you have quite a broad horizon. You're not limited in your views, and I was guessing that may have come from your parents, because I speak to lots of Muslims, and I speak to Muslims who are quite in the open, but I also speak to Muslims who are incredibly tunnel visioned, and there's their fiqh and there's their particular way of life, and anything outside of that is haram. And so for me it's fascinating whenever I encounter Muslims that have slightly different stories. And so, do you belong to a particular stream of Islam?
I'm Sunni Muslim. Really.
You hold the five pillars, you go to...
five pillars. I go to mosque every Friday.
Fasting Ramadan?
Fasting in Ramadan, obviously. I read the Quran at home almost every day.
Were there other Muslims in King Solomon?
Yes, they are actually. They are. We feel very lucky to be in King Solomon High School and to be open about everything. I mean, we over there are allowed to freedom of speech. I mean, our views weren't suppressed, especially in Jewish studies when we would sometimes have friendly debate.
Yeah.
But yeah, everything is. There's nothing really to debate about as well. Everything's the same. Everything's there. But yeah, I really enjoy it.
And so what happened on Friday, because Friday's obviously Jummah for the Jews,
yeah.
It's Shabbat. So what would happen on Friday? Would you go home early?
Exactly, yeah. So we are off 1:30 because of Shabbat, and especially in other Muslim countries, Friday is always a half day, because what we do, we go home, we need to go to our prayers at the mosque, you know, listen to a bit of verses from the Quran. After that we pray. After praying, you know, meet and greet everyone, go home to our families, have a nice relaxed day, and then after that you can just do whatever you want.
So really, that sounds incredible. So you got two faiths, one school, Muslims, Jews. I'm sure there's some Christians there as well.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
It's almost a model for the Middle East. It's almost a model. Look, if it worked in King Solomon, it should be able to work anywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I'm here with Mustafa. He's representing Essex Friends of Israel. Clearly a very enlightened and open-minded individual. So yeah, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, and come forward a bit. Come, almost like we're a couple. There you go. All right, so I'm here with
Ishmael Salih.
What brings you here today?
I just do anything I can to support Israel. And it's basically that simple. It's the only democracy in the Middle East and I love it. And I plan to go to Israel within the next year or two.
And so obviously you're not the stereotypical Zionist. I mean, I'm looking at what you're wearing.
Yeah. I'm from a very strict Sunni Muslim background, but I embrace both Sunniism, Sufism and also Shia. I believe that all should be united. I started my journey wanted to convert to Orthodox Judaism. I have time until I make that decision, but regardless I make that decision, it's only because Israel to me is the only democracy in the Middle East. And regardless what Israel is doing bad and good, if you compare it to all the Middle Eastern countries, it's to keep targeting Israel, it does not make sense. From killings that goes on in Saudi Arabia, from killings that goes on in Yemen, from child brides, from thousands of child brides. For example, I'm from an Indian Muslim background, and there's over 3 million Indian migrant workers in the United Arab Emirates, and also in Qatar, where they're hosting the World Cup, over 1,200 have been killed. So how I argue with people, regardless if you believe Israel is wrong or you believe it's doing is good, how come you're not targeting all these other countries?
I think that's a great link in. So one of the videos we're making at the moment, and this is going to be a feature in, is about the accusation of apartheid. And you touched on a really pertinent point. You touched on the United Arab Emirates, you touched on Qatar, you touched on countries where by law you're forbidden to be a citizen unless you're a Muslim, where minority populations, and actually majority populations, places like Qatar, the majority of the population are migrants who refuse citizenship and live in almost slave conditions.
Like if you to compare Israel to also to the Arab world, to Pakistan, like the Arab world and also South Asia is on top because Pakistani Christians are treated as second-class citizens. Even if you go to Palestine, even Palestinian Christians are treated differently from Palestinian Muslims. And you know,
and how do they treat Palestinian Jews?
Palestinian Jews, I don't know much about that.
There aren't any Palestinian Jews. It's forbidden to be a Palestinian Jew.
I didn't know
you can't live in the Palestinian Authority controlled territories. You can't reside there if you're Jewish.
Didn't know that. That's something new. And also, for example, many Muslims of different ethnicities will never admit this, but the way a Bangladeshi Muslim or Indian Muslim is treated in Saudi Arabia is quite disgusting. Even though all of us are individuals, like when you're a non-Arab in the Muslim world, it does feel kind of like you do feel kind of low about yourself. And like I said, Qatar, where the World Cup is being hosted, has they're building the stadium, and over 1,200 so far have been killed. 1,200. And no one seems to care about this. And I'm not the only Muslim who knows about this. Many Muslims know about this. The thing is, are they? The thing is, I feel like they're too afraid, or they don't have the confidence to say it.
I think
they
it's
say
more
it
than that.
behind their.
I think they don't know. I think most people do. Most people are oblivious to the fact that in Saudi Arabia, you can divorce your wife if you find out she has African, black ancestry. That is like Nazi Aryan purity laws, but from an Arab or Saudi, not even Arab, from a Saudi perspective, they're called the lineage laws. Most Muslims are oblivious. Islam is a pluralistic religion that embraces all people, yet in Saudi Arabia, it discriminates based on race. It's crazy. I think most Muslims simply don't know. They don't have the information.
Some Somalians and Sudanese Muslims know.
If you look at a nation like Sudan is being ravaged by conflict, ravaged by war. Al-Bashir has the blood of hundreds of thousands of people on his hands. But this is Muslims killing other Muslims. This isn't Muslims killing Jews. This isn't Jews killing Muslims. This is Muslims slaughtering other Muslims, and nobody knows anything. No one says anything. I think the biggest issue is education. But Ishmael, it's been fantastic talking. It always is.
No problem.
Get so much pride seeing you on these marches. He's an incredibly courageous man. Very few people would do what he does. He puts himself in huge danger. A lot of people are very aware and very unhappy about what he says. And so yeah, it's a great source of pride for us to see you here advocating for our tiny little state in the Middle East. So thank you.
I can't wait to do more. You know that, yeah.